Hello from the south coast of the UK, where I've come to pay a visit to trailblazers at Team BRIT, who are doing fantastic things with regard to management of hand controls and various other apparatus to allow disabled drivers access to motorsport. What we're going to do now, Paul, is try and have a go on this simulator where I'm going to try to take on something similar to the hand controls that disabled drivers might use in the car to control some pretty incredible pieces of machinery here at Team BRIT, wheel to wheel against their opposition. And let's see if I can do it. I'm going to jump on this sim, which has a hand throttle, a hand brake, and hand gears as well. I brought race boots today before realising I don't need them, of course, because everything is done for me on the steering wheel. Well, I say everything's done for me. We're about to find out.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, come on.
Shall we jump in and try? What circuit and car am I going to be? Am I going to be taking on here, Paul?
We've just popped you on Brands Hatch for now in a BMW GT4, something not too dissimilar to the 2 Series we run for the second years. Everything's exactly the same as you'd be in a normal sim, except for there's no pedals. You've got accelerator over on the right-hand side, brake over on the left, and your gear up and gear down replicated on both of the thumb controls.
Both of the thumb controls.
So the first thing I'm going to get you to do is cross your legs, because you'll find that after lap 3, you're just going to start going for a pedal that you don't have. So that will just be a mental cue.
You've got any tie wraps?
Yeah,
just tie them together.
If they start twitching, we can strap you right in. But let's get you just set up for now and see how you do. So, perfect. You've already picked up the accelerator there, and as soon as the lights go out, you'll be off.
Oh.
You can also use the ones behind there.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
If you want, there's a second pair if you've got small hands.
Oh, that's tricky, you know. Come on. Druids, brake, 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 brake. Oh.
How's it without the foot?
It's so strange.
Have you felt yourself going for it yet?
Yeah.
Okay. So
it's when you know what, it's when you, the normal driving, I think I'd get used to really quickly. It's when we on the GT. Off I go.
You're on the. Sorry, I should have mentioned you're on the Indy circuit.
I'm on the Indy. It's the normal racing I get used to. I think it's that moment when you're in traffic and you need to brake quickly. A lot of crowd in the stands. It's a very well attended race meeting.
It is. Well, they've come down to see you.
They've come down to see me.
They knew you were racing.
Down the inside.
Normally, most people find lap 1, lap 2, lap 3 absolutely fine. As soon as they take their mind off of it, that's when the feet will come back and muscle memory will take over. And especially if you've been racing as long as yourself, it's harder to get out of that habit.
It's the modulation which is tricky. You know, you kind of modulate the brake so much based around a feeling.
Absolutely.
From the base of your foot. I don't like certies, do I?
So what you'll find is in the real car, instead of taking the feedback from the pedal, you'll take it through the chest and the chest straps.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously in the simulator you don't get that, so it is a little bit trickier to drive on the sim than it is in real life. But once you get used to it, taking that feedback through the harness is actually a much shorter nerve path than taking it through your foot anyway. So there is an advantage to taking the pressure of the car rather than the pressure of the pedal.
Yeah, I lock up a lot.
Yeah, so that comes with practice and just knowing where your fingers are in space relative to the control.
Reminds me of completely is my first time using a hand clutch.
Yes.
In the pit lane.
Yes, very similar.
And I remember a full field full of pretty good single-seater drivers, just utterly unable to pull out of the garage, and they were utterly unable to pull out of the garage just because they didn't have a feel for where on this clutch the bite point was.
Absolutely, and it's exactly the same with this braking system. You start to attune to what position gives you what level of feedback.
Get the idea now.
And then when you're in the real car and you've got the feedback from the belts as well,
I guess it would help a lot.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
I had motion, if I had the actual real feel of the car. I'm starting to hoon back towards the pack now.
Yeah, it's coming back.
It's coming back. There you go. Getting on it.
If you can imagine though, we do endurance racing, so in a 6, 24-hour, 12-hour race, the amount of pressure you have to put on the pedal and the amount of work that takes does take a toll on the driver, whereas if you're just doing it on a light feather finger, that is an advantage.
It is, obviously. So how does that, in terms of the real braking system, how does that actually work? Is that an actuator then, or is it directly connected to sort of the master cylinders and everything like that? How does it work?
So the throttle's direct. It's a fly-by-wire throttle, and it's exactly the same.
Yeah, no, I can understand how that works. It's just the braking system must be.
That's a lot more complicated. So we have a pneumatic compressor and air reservoir that pushes on pneumatic piston.
Sure.
That then acts on the hydraulic master cylinder, which is connected to the braking system of the car. So it's an electro-pneumatical hydraulic system that is very complicated, but very reliable and very good at what it does. Like I said, we run races and we run championships with it, so it's a good system and it works, and it allows us to have a level playing field with everyone else using pedals.
Auto mode is helping me a lot here.
The gears take another level of complexity on top of it.
I'd like to. I've stopped trying to tell it to do gears. Yeah. You know what? This throttle. Because it's a switch. I don't know. Like somehow you're more inclined to be digital with it.
Yeah. So throttle modulation is something they have to learn quite heavily in the car.
Throttle modulation must be tricky.
In the car, it's easier. On the sim, there's no push from the seat. There's no kind of sense of.
I'm going off. No, I'm good.
You're going. Yeah. But you come and drive the car for real next time it's out.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be
great.
It's
a good giggle.
I think, on the sim, you don't have that, I think the fear would tell you to lift the throttle, and you don't obviously feel the deceleration that goes with the lift of the throttle either.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's weird how Surtees is the trickiest corner, because somehow this throttle being open just suddenly becomes part of my grip.
Yeah.
And the frightening thing is, I feel like I'd have to tell myself to lift. Yeah,
you do. Yeah, it's a very different kind of set of muscle memory you need. Whereas on the throttle, there's so much more kind of like natural instinct to lift. Whereas this, it's a lot easier just to hold on to it.
Yeah. Oh God, the instant lock of that is so tricky.
What we find as well is we teach drivers to gear up on the opposite side to the throttle, so that they're not compromising grip on both sets of fingers. That comes into it quite a lot.
Well, I mean, there must be a lot. When you drive quick cars with this setup, there must be a lot going on.
Yeah.
Like on the wheel when you're, really properly ploughing through gears.
So we've got a couple of hairpins on the calendar. Donnie's probably one of them.
Yeah, sure.
Where for me it's easier to crank the wheel over, let go of the throttle on the hand, use my throttle on the foot, change up one gear, come out of it, go back to the hand control, and then carry on the race. So there's a couple of corners where you do have to mix the controls up to get a really good result.
To actually be able to, because if your hands are crossed over, do you get to the point where you can't?
Yeah, so you can try it if you want. If you go for a full lock, see that you then miss that.
Can't.
Yeah, and we can adjust the paddles to the circuit, so we can have extenders on, and you'll see some of the paddles have got extenders on where they race certain circuits.
The Monaco paddle.
The old Monaco paddle, absolutely. But if you've got a leg and you can employ it, then you can go onto a pedal and sort of sacrifice a paddle at a certain point of track. But that really is remembering where you are and what you're using, because if you get that wrong,
it's interesting to me that you can already picture those you know where those hairpins are, and you know how complex that's going to be, and it's like a factor in your year.
Luke, who raced with us a couple of years ago, and I forget the circuit, but it was a circuit with it might have been Alton Park, where there was a left-right chicane.
Yeah.
And he's got one arm, so he used paddle on one arm and pedal on one foot. And there was a chicane where he used to come in, set the car up, let go of the wheel would then auto-correct. He'd grab it at the top of the wheel as he came around the chicane, yank it over to the other side, get the opposite lock on, let go of it again, the car would slew around and he'd grab it again and set off.
Wow.
And he would use the brakes and the accelerator left foot whilst he did that with his right hand. So that was good to watch. That's
a technique. So I'm just busy
Winning.
bumping my way to the front here.
Elbows out.
So I don't end up with an embarrassing. So I don't end up with an embarrassing finishing position. We've been chatting. There we go. Second across the line.
We'll take that. That's
We'll
very
take
good.
that.
That's an amazing first time out.
A podium.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done. I expect nothing less.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much for the guided tour. I think it'd take me a long time, actually, a good few days, to be comfortable enough with the controls so that it was second nature in the traffic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing laps on my own,
Yeah.
I think I get pretty quickly. But then
It's when you're concentrating on something else and your muscle memory takes over. That is
the radio, with the pits, with the tyres, and then trying to adapt as the car changes and try and give balance feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of that area of your hand that you're giving up is area of sensitivity and control.
Absolutely, and that's why we go on opposites with the gear up and gear down, so that you're not compromising a complete side at one time. You can sort of maintain that contact on your hand pattern. We do train for it, and there is a way around. But without this, we can't go racing. So this is that's our system that we use, and we love it very much.
Paul, thanks for giving me a go.
No problem. Lovely to meet you.